Good afternoon, students. Welcome back to Geography online classes. So in the previous video, we have completed with chapter 6, that is Asia, location, political division and physical features. So in today's video, we shall begin with a new chapter, that is chapter 7, Asia, climate, natural vegetation and wildlife. So Asia is one of the world's largest continent, and it covers 1/3 of the world's land area. So Asia is a continent of perplexity, fascination, and uniqueness. It is a home to dozens of different ethnic groups and well known for its culture, population, economies, plants, and animals. So Asia is a diverse continent because you will find the different ethnic groups speaking different languages, following different culture and traditions and food habits, and it is also very rich in flora and fauna. So why Asia has a large variety of vegetation and wildlife? So you will find out the answer to this question in this chapter. So let's start with it right away. The climate of Asia. Asia has a large north to south extent, placing the continent in different heat zones. Its climate varies greatly from place to place and season to season. In summers, Central Asia becomes very hot, so moist winds from the Indian and Pacific Ocean blows to the low pressure area over the land, bringing in moisture and rainfall called the summer monsoons. During winters, Central Asia becomes extremely hot, so dry, cold winds blow out from this high pressure area, leaving a major part of Asia rainless. Rainfall too varies in places and seasons. So, Asia has a large north to south extent, placing the continent in different heat zones. So, most of the continent is within the northern hemisphere, while only a very small portion lies in the southern hemisphere. We have discussed this in the previous chapter. And therefore, placing the continent in different heat zones. And the climate also varies from place to place and from season to season. In summers, Central Asia becomes very hot. So, Central Asia countries like Afghanistan, Iran, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, and others, some of the other countries, especially the Middle East countries, they falls under Central Asia. So during summer, these countries are very hot. So moist winds from the Indian and the Pacific Oceans blow to the low pressure area over the land, bringing moisture and rainfall. So the moist wind moving in low pressure area causes the air to converge and the air is forced to move upward, leading to condensation and precipitation, therefore bringing in moisture and rainfall. During winters, Central Asia becomes extremely cold, so dry, cold winds blow out from this high pressure area, leaving a major part of Asia rainless. And rainfall also varies from places to places and from season to season. So, what are the factors affecting the climate of Asia? The climate of Asia is affected by the following factors: latitudinal extent, distance from the sea, physical features, winds, and ocean currents. Latitudinal extent. Being an extremely large landmass, Asia has 90 parallels of latitude running across it. As a result, some portion of the continent falls into each of the heat zones. Since the latitudinal extent is 80 degrees north to 10 degrees south, the climate ranges from extremely cold and dry in the north to very hot and wet in the south. So, being a large landmass, Asia has 90 parallels of latitude running across it. So, what are these parallels? These parallel, they are imaginary line extending around the earth parallel, that is the equator, and they runs east-west, and each parallel measures 1 degree north and south of the equator. So here in this picture you will see these are the parallels here. They are the imaginary line extending around the earth parallel, right? As a result, some portion of the continent falls into each of the heat zones. Since the latitudinal extent is 80 degree north to 10 degree south, the climate ranges from extremely cold and dry in the north to very hot and very wet in the south. So you will find that the places in the north, they are very cold and dry, and in the south it is hot and wet. For example, India is one of the countries of Asia. So you will find that the southern part of India is very hot and wet, whereas the northern part, it is cold and dry. Distance from the sea. The vast longitudinal extent of the continent also ensures that many parts of it are a great distance from the moderating effect that the seas. As a result, there are extremes of temperatures in the interior part of the continent, as there is not enough rain in these regions. So the sea also affect the climate of a place. So you find that the coastal areas, or the areas, the places which are very close to the sea, they have they experience a cooler and a wetter climate. Now, a major part of Asia, it lies in the interior, that is far away from the sea. Therefore, they experience extreme climate, extreme temperature. Why? Because there is not enough rain. The rainfall is very low and uneven in this place. So there are extreme of temperature in the interior part of the continent, as there is not enough rain in this region, right? The physical features. The central mountain complex forms a barrier from the moisture-bearing winds which comes from the south. When air masses move up the windward side, the air cools and causes precipitation, rain or snow. As the air descends on the leeward side, it warms again and is drier, having been exhausted of much of its moisture. Often the rain shadow side will affect the leeward side of a range. So we have studied the physical features in the previous chapter. So the central mountain complex, they are the different mountain ranges of Asia. For example, the Himalayas is one of them. So the Himalayas act as a barrier against the old winds rising from Central Asia. So when the air moves up the windward side, the air cools and causes precipitation. And as it descends on the leeward side, it warms again and is drier, having been exhausted of its much moisture. Often a rain shadow side will affect the leeward side of a range. So when the air, when these air masses, they move up from the windward side, the air cools and causes precipitation, and therefore bringing in moisture and rain. But as it descends, as it goes down on the leeward side, it's becoming drier and therefore loses its moisture. Right. See, when the air masses move up from this windward side, it causes precipitation, therefore bringing in moisture, and as it descends, it becomes drier. So often a rain shadow side will affect the leeward side of a range. The winds. The monsoon winds are a special feature in South and Southeast Asia. In summer, they blow from the southwest over the Indian Ocean and bring rainfall. In autumn, the monsoon withdraw from South and Southeast Asia, the northeast trade wind resumed blowing towards the equator. This is an offshore wind but is able to pick up moisture from the Bay of Bengal and shed rain over the Coromandel coast. This rain is received in winter and is known as the northeast monsoons. So the monsoon winds, they are periodic winds which bring in rainfall in the South and Southeast Asia. And from month of June to September, and it is characterized by reversal wind direction. So the monsoon winds, they are the special feature in South and Southeast Asia. So in summer, they blow from the southwest over the Indian Ocean and bring rainfall. And in autumn, the monsoon winds, they retreat from South and Southeast Asia. So the northeast trade wind, they resume blowing towards the equator. Now, you here in this picture, you will find that you will see the summer monsoon winds, the winds blowing from the coming from the Indian Ocean. They brings in rainfall, and the winter monsoon winds. These winds, they retreat from the South and Southeast Asia, right? And the northeast trade winds, the northeast trades, they resume blowing towards the equator. So this is an offshore wind, and it is able to pick up moisture from the Bay of Bengal. So these northeast trade winds, they pick up moisture from the Bay of Bengal and shed rain over the Coromandel coast. So the blue circle here is where the Coromandel coast is. So this rain is received in winter and it is known as the northeast monsoons. Ocean currents. There are two ocean currents that play a major role on the climate of Asia. The Oya-Shiyo current is a cold subarctic current that flows towards the south. So ocean currents, they are described as a movement of water from one location to another. Now this ocean water, they moves in two directions, that is horizontally and vertically. And it is driven by wind, water density, and the different type of these tides. So the Oya-Shiyo current, it is a cold subarctic current that flows towards the south. Since it starts in the Arctic Ocean flowing to the south along the Bering Strait, it affects the climate of eastern Russia. So the Oya-Shiyo current, it affects the climate of Russia. For example, the southernmost part of Russia, Vladivostok, freezes in winter and only the ice-breaking ships allow it to stay open in that season. Now the Kuroshio is a black current, also called the Japan current. It is a north-flowing ocean current on the west side of the North Pacific Ocean. The warm waters of the Kuroshio current sustain the coral reefs of Japan and moderate temperature in Japan and Taiwan. At the meeting point of the warm and the cold currents, thick fog develops. So the Oya-Shiyo current, it is a cold subarctic ocean current which flows towards the south, affecting the climate of Russia, whereas the Kuroshio, it is known as the Japanese black current. It is a Japan current which is a north-flowing ocean current. So you will find these black and the blue and the red arrows. So the red arrows symbolizes the hot ocean current, whereas the cold arrows symbolizes the cold ocean currents. So here you will find this green arrow, it is the Oya-Shiyo current. So it flows towards the south, whereas the red arrow, it is the Kuroshio or the black current which flows towards the north. So the point where these two currents meet develops thick fog. Why? Because the air above the warm current is warm, which contains water vapor. So the air above the cold current causes the water vapor of the warm current to condense into tiny particles and therefore forming a fog. So this blue arrow, it is the Oyashiro current, and the red arrow is the Kuroshio current. Distribution of annual rainfall. The distribution of rainfall in Asia is not even. The amount of rainfall varies from place to place and from season to season. The distribution of rainfall is shown in the map on the previous page, that is in page 90. So the distribution of rainfall is also not distributed equally in all the places, and it varies from place to place and from season to season. Now the equatorial region receive heavy rainfall, more than 200 centimeter annually. Such areas include Southeast Asia and the southern face of Himalayas. Modern rainfall receiving areas 100 to 200 centimeter annually include some parts of India, Southeast Asia, Central and Southern China, Philippines and Japan. So low rainfall receiving areas receiving less than 50 centimeter annually include Central and West Asia, Siberia and plateau of the Central Highlands. So in this map, you will find the maroon mark. The maroon mark is the areas receiving rainfall above 200 centimeters. So you will find here in this index box annual rainfall indicating the amount of rainfall each area receives. So for today's, let us stop here. In the next video, we shall continue with the remaining portion. Thank you.